Well, hello, hello. We are live. Welcome to Average Superstar TV. I'm your host, Lauren Lepre, and I have a pleasure here of having this amazing guest, someone I've known for about 25 years now. Known this guy through the Pennsylvania hardcore scene, veteran band, Strength for a Reason. PA hardcore legend, I would say.
I would never go that far.
Yeah, Karl from Strength for a Reason. Welcome to the show, friend.
Nice to see you, Lauren.
Yeah.
So, my brother.
Yes. And quick shameless plug: Karl was also in the Pennsylvania hardcore documentary. You can see live on Tubi. Yeah. But so Karl, it's definitely been a moment, easy. But like, what have you been up to? And I see Strength's back.
Yeah, I mean, you know how the pandemic was for all bands. I think a little bit scary. You know, you never know how much you miss something until you don't have it anymore. You know, you don't know what you got till it's gone, as Cinderella would say. You know.
Yeah. I mean, that was like so crazy because when that broke out, like, you know, I've said this on other shows and stuff, but like I thought this thing was over within 2 weeks. Like I was just like, oh yeah, we'll have like a month off tops. And like I remember seeing like Bad Luck and Sheer Terror at like Voltage Lounge, and then the next 4 days later I saw Louis C.K. and then everything just dropped. Like everything I had tickets to it, I was like, is this really happening? I was like, and then, you know, dark summer, you know.
It's crazy for me because I work at a school on the side doing maintenance at a school. And I was like, and they're like, oh, we're closing the school for 2 weeks. And the first thing I thought about was, let's get the band together, you know. We're not working, let's go play, you know. And it was the opposite in that sense, that we played a show, and then all of a sudden, boom, everything was shut down. And when I started seeing it with bigger bands, and I was actually supposed to go to a basketball tournament, like, you know, with some friends, and they canceled March Madness, and then I knew this is serious. Like, they're not going to cancel something that's $1 billion industry for nothing, you know.
Yeah, and that's all America is. I always say, like, the stars on the flag are really like, you know, it's a cash register. That's what those things represent, you know. So I was
sadly that's what I said. I said, when you see the big things getting shut down that you never thought would go away, and they're shut down, then you start worrying. You're like, well, maybe this is more than we think it is, you know.
Yeah, but not keep either one of us crying the blues. But so the band, how did this resurrection? Which, by the way, I'm really glad that you didn't pull the we broke up, totally knowing like you're a band that's never going to really go away. You'll just take hiatuses. It's something that always bothered me out of these bands that, like, by the time they're 26, like, we're never playing again. I'm like, do you hate each other? No. I'm like, dude, you could just say you're taking a hiatus and you don't know the future.
I always take pride, and I always say that Strength for a Reason will never have to do a reunion tour, because we're always going to be a band. That day when, you know, God forbid, when something happens to somebody or we lose somebody, you know, then we'll decide. You know, me and Jack are still the original members, and, you know, we're still best friends. So if I don't play hardcore, sadly, I don't see my friend. You know, that's the way I always looked at it. If I don't play in hardcore, I don't see my friend. You make friends all over the world. When are you going to see them if you don't play in a band? I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it. That's one of the things that keep the band going. You know what I mean? That I want to see my friend.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, yeah, that's the brother sisterhood. I mean, that's just so important. It is weird because it's like parkour is obviously was like my roots and my everything, but like my musical taste, it's all over the place. And like, it's not my number one thing in the world, but like, I will never go away. I will always be at shows, you know, always, dude. It's so,
for me, I love all music. I mean, but hardcore was just the thing that you knew. I mean,
yeah.
Look how we met at CC's.
Yep.
When you went there, you felt like it was a family. I can remember getting out of a car and people chanting your name.
Yeah.
You know, being in high school and stuff, like, you know, you're kind of an outcast skateboarder, you know what I mean, listening to metal or whatever, you never got that true friendship or brotherhood that people said they got through all sports and stuff. When I went to CC's, that was my home. Like you felt like that's where your friends were, you know, even though you weren't from the same town, or it was crazy to find out people liked the same things you did.
Yeah, and it was one of those things too, like when you see like cities like, you know, Philly, New York, everybody kind of just walks up to the club. So like there's no real introduction, you know, I mean, there's obviously people, but when you pull into CC's, like the car is here. Who's getting out of the car? And everyone yelled your name, you know?
That's what I said, you know, like some people will never get that experience of like, if you, that's the one thing I said, and I don't want to jump right into it, but if you didn't go to a show, even if you didn't know the band, you didn't know when the next show was. So you would roll up there with your friends in a car to see what bands were playing, so you could find out when the show was next time, you know? And like I said, it was something different.
You had to get into the network of flyers, like, and then actually kind of get someone's phone number that's like, maybe it's someone who knows everything, because I jumped in 93, and like between 93 and 94, I didn't even go to 10 shows, maybe like 7 or 8. But I was the quiet kid in the back. I didn't really talk. And I mean, I was a guy, I was all over the place. And then 95 came, and I'm like, I'm going to become a staple. But like, I remember looking, because I didn't really know people. Like I said, I kind of just shut up and stay in the back. So I would have to go to like the wall and look for flyers. And then I would have to like decipher, like, is that a death metal show? Is that a metal show? Or is that a hardcore show? And sometimes, and like, it was like a 12-mile drive just to go investigate, and maybe nothing to even be on the wall. So it took a little bit to like, I started, being friends with like, Mac Ray and, everybody, this chain react after that. But,
it was like, we had LS Bolorama first in Nanticoke, and I never really even knew what it was. I didn't know what hardcore even was. You know, you kind of hear about it from other people. And I remember going to a show and just being like, I think it was the Undead. And I didn't know if I liked it or hated it. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? But like I said, I must not have minded it, because I went back and then I seen Mucky Pup. And I was like, oh, they were fun.
Yeah.
I started having shows at the Hose House. And then I went and like New School would play. And then it was like a little bit more of a Mac. That was a little more like, at the time I was listening to a lot of gangster rap. And they had a little.
But look at really what 95 to like 99 was for all of us. I mean, that's all we ate that shit right up, you know.
Like I said, and then New School had like, had a DJ and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I seen Dog Eat Dog, and I was just like, man, these guys are fun. Like, this is like, you know what I mean? That's what everybody listened to, skating and stuff. And like, you felt like you fit in, you know what I mean? And you would go to the show, and it was all about having fun.
And it was new and different. I don't want to be one of those, like, I liked it better in the day, but I did like the whole idea of the variety, what you just said, like, this is Monkey Pup, this is Dog Eat Dog, this is American Youth. Everybody was kind of different, and that was what drew me. And I think even like during our era, it's like, you had E-Town, they sounded nothing like Murphy's Law, you know what I mean? Like, Crutch, they didn't sound like Crutch. Like, I dug the whole all over the place. And even like, the Catfish Bullheads and the Soulless, and even like the Down Train, I would consider them like, stoner punk, but like, I just like that it went all over before the last 20 years of more of the.
I tell people, it wasn't like all the same bands on a show. Like, you had different bands from every genre. You'd have a punk rock band mixed in, and everybody was cool with it. Everybody was just like, that's how you learn some of your favorite bands. I mean, I think that's how I got into like New York hardcore and stuff like that. Like, which I gravitated for the rest of my life to, you know what I mean? Like, that was the music that I ended up liking the most. Seeing it the first time, I was just like, wow, this is cool. Like,
but I totally get what you're saying about like, you didn't know what it was, because like, I remember my first show was like the all group of shows was the Underground in Wilkes-Barre, and I remember like going in, and there's like, the first band I saw on stage wasn't a hardcore band, it was this band Eternal Bleeding, and I'm
Yeah.
seeing.
I remember it probably. Yep.
So it was the second singer, Wallace, this crazy kind of, I don't know, he had these long dreads, and like there's people climbing the cage and flipping, and I'm this sheltered kid. I'm like,
the
factory, yeah. So that's what they called it, the underground, for when it was hardcore shows. But yeah, but like people are doing backflips off it, and I'm like, I'm this sheltered kid that just watched Friday the 13th 200 times in my bedroom every night. That's what I like. I want to run, but I'm attracted. Then Mesh would come out, which like they were kind of a groovy band. They were the guys from Dogs on Chains, and that's like way over here. Then this hippie band would go on. Then this next band sounds like Nirvana. I'm like, I went to a hardcore show, but like I don't know the definition because we were all growing and just trying to make some sort of a scene before it broke off and was strong enough to be on its own,
That's so funny that you said that about Nirvana, because I remember going to the host house, and I remember, in Edwardsville, and I remember bands like One Shot Deal or somebody covering Nirvana, Teen Spirit. And that was the first time you had the internet, well, not the internet, of course, I should say, MTV, connecting a video. Like I was like, wow, these kids are like moshing just like guys do at the I'd seen that at LS Bolorama. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because when I really got attracted to hardcore, I needed to find out more. I was a kid, like I had no confidence. I was always verbally abused. Like someone either would make fun of me or they would just walk down the hall, be like, "Hey, Lauren, thumbs up," but like you're making fun of me. I get it, and I was different. I didn't even know people like us existed. And it was funny because for how I would even walk into town to go to the video store, like I would take the railroad tracks. If someone comes, run this way. I had like my escape route because I had no confidence at all. And it was weird because you're watching Headbangers Ball, and it's funny because like all that shit was cool to me at the time, but they weren't talking to me. Number of the Beast is a great song, but like you're not reaching who I am as a teen and all that. Like it's not working. And then the Biohazard Punishment video came on.
Oh yeah.
And I never saw anything like that. They're panning the camera. That was shot by Drew Stone, I think.
Fucking the bridge.
and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't know who they are, but that's where I belong, and I'm going there. And a little person like my conscience jumped on my shoulder, like, you're going to go there and you're scared to walk around your hometown. And it was like the weirdest thing, but I did. And when you met me, I don't know your actual first memory of me, but like I went to Cece's, the friends that I was going with kind of faded, and I just went myself, and I just looked for conversations that I think I could jump in. And that's how I kind of just put a flag in the ground, to the point like, that guy he just jumps in every conversation, but I guess he's okay. And, so that was like my origin right there,
It's a beautiful thing that happened, because you said, like how you said, with Biohazard changed me again, because it was that little bit of rap influence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow, this is really cool. Because for me, I like the first bands I liked was like Pantera was like the hard band.
Of course.
Like harder bands. I was like, oh man, like
it's whatever was accessible to like Headbangers Ball. If you're just a normal suburban kid, that's how you got to everything, So when I saw that, and I always remember when I saw not hardcore band, but when I saw Jane's Addiction Stop video, there was all these people with blue hair, and like I was like, I don't know who those people are, but I want to meet them too. So it was like, you need to get out, dude. These videotapes of all Friday the 13th will still be there. Like, get out of the house and start freaking meeting people. And it was funny because in the Jane's Addiction video, Stop, at one point, two girls lean over the pool and they kiss each other. And like, I was that sheltered. I was like, those two girls just kiss each other? Is that allowed on TV? I was just like, wow. Like, yeah, like that's how, dude, you're in Anaco. I was in Carbondale. Like, we were.
It was a different time. Like I said, I'm so glad that it came as far as it is. I mean, it's a beautiful thing that you realize there's so much of it out there. But like you said, coming from a small town, you're sheltered.
Yep.
How many things you were told was wrong that once you got in the hardcore scene, there was no, I mean, I can't say there wasn't prejudice because I mean, there was skinheads, white power and stuff, but it was kind of like all creeds like back then kind of melting together. Like nobody cared. Like you would come home and there'd be racist here or racist there. But when you were at a hardcore show, everybody was there. You know what I mean? Like especially at CC, it didn't matter who you were there. Like all colors, all creeds, all religions. Like it didn't matter. It was like
you were a misfit within a misfit. I always said, no matter what skin color you had, you like, and you showed up at a hardcore show. This is meant like I don't fit anywhere else. This is, I called it like the movie Nightbreed. It was Midian. It was like that place where they all lived underground. It was just like you found you can't. The only reason you showed up here is because fate put you here. This is where you belong. This is your true tribe.
But there was one memory at CC's that definitely changed me of when I knew I wanted to sing in a band. And it was like when Warzone came through. And I mean, I've never met anybody like Rabies. Like that was the first time I felt completely welcome at any kind of show. He walked around, he gave everybody demos, he talked to everybody, treated you like he knew you, and all you were was like a little kid at the time, And this guy's walking around treating you, talking to you like you're the coolest guy in the room,
Yeah.
Oh, check out my band. And I remember him going and standing in the middle and people singing along, like around him, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, I can't believe this guy's in the middle of the crowd. You're used to seeing Pantera up on a stage, you have a barrier, you know what I mean? This guy's standing in the middle of the crowd, everybody's gathering around him singing. And I remember getting a demo and studying it and remembering it. They came back like 3 months later. And you never know, bless you. And I remember knowing every word. I just remember following him around like, that's what I want to do. I want to sing in a hardcore band. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You never know it's going to actually come about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said, those first couple of years when I wasn't going to shows a lot, I would be like, maybe talking just a little conversation with someone, and then to be like, well, I got to go on stage and play, and I'd be like, I was just talking to someone in a band. Like I'm like, I should go get their autograph, and my friend's like grabs me back, and she's like, dude, chill, just chill.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't know.
You didn't know, yeah.
And I remember, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on now, but I remember Rick to Life when he would come through. He would come through and he would have a distro of all this music you never heard of, or you know what I mean? That's how I found out about Fury of 5, you know what I mean? And I met the guys in Crutch and just all the like New York hardcore, Madball, and like I just like, man, this stuff is awesome. And I remember getting the records, and I remember reading the thanks list and looking at the T-shirts they had on. And that's how I would find out who the next band is. Like, that T-shirt on, and they thank them in there. Let me try to find out who this band is.
I remember like I would do like I just take notice to what shirts. Like if I didn't know the band, like you got to go figure this out. Like I'd be running the Electric Mine Shaft and just like asking, do they have that flyers? And I mean, I was so like gun ho about this stuff. I remember like opening up the jackets and reading who knew what band. And if like, okay, I know 1/4 of these bands, but who are these 3/4? I got a lot of work to do here. And like, yeah, it was crazy. When you said Rick came up, I remember like, I've been working since I was 13 years old. I've never been unemployed. Obviously I was in school, it was part-time, but like I always had money in my pocket. So for Rick to come up with $3 demos, dude, I used to 20 of them are going to the car at night. Like Rick was making a fortune off it. It would be those crappy C90 tapes. You remember those things? Like we're like the worst sound quality.
They always were in slow motion with the warp on.
Yeah. And like, I'd be asking like, what's the cool shirt this week? And I'm learning. You're just excited to be a part of something.
He'd push some bad music on you because you never could trust him as far as that went. But he had a lot of good stuff, though, man. I mean, you know what I mean? Like when you would find that band, you're like, wow. I remember
I got a setback tape from him, and I couldn't understand. And like you said, it was that slow mo. So I was like, setback sucks. So I threw the tape out, and then they came to see. He's like, They don't suck at all. I was like,
the tape sucks.
The tape sucks. Yeah.
Why? Because I swear to God, sometimes he'd sit in his he didn't have a double cassette. I swear he would take boombox to boombox and push record.
Wow.
I swear he didn't. You know what I mean? Like there was times that I was at his place a few times, back in the day. Sadly, before he went, a little bit off his rocker. I hate to say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because regardless of what he did, he kind of helped. He was really the voice to get New York hardcore to start coming here.
Oh, I agree 100%. Like I said, I actually have nothing against the guy. I don't know what his problems are with some people. Somebody pissed in his Cheerios and he takes it out on everybody, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't even think he knows who he's arguing with in the grand scheme of everything.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, was he just some shyster that went off the rails, or is he has some sort of mental illness? It's one of those things. It's not good to laugh at it either. But like, I don't know his situation. I haven't, like I was saying before this broadcast with you, like I haven't seen Rick since Hellfest, the very last one. That was the last time I ever seen him in human form. So.
And that's the saddest part is, like I said, I mean, all the times, we did a couple tours with him. I mean, he helped our band out a lot at first. Like I said, and I never even knew where the confrontation started. And I know where it started in a sense because it was with him lying about other bands and stuff. But he never really did anything to our band. He just kind of got pushed into mixed with everybody that he didn't like us either now. I mean, it is what it is, And I think, honestly, I hate to say it because I think it was mental illness. And like I said, I don't like to bring it up. I never want to hurt him physically or mentally either.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like
something there, sadly.
I've said for a while, like people, you could put Rick in there. Just suppose Rick does have a mental illness. So you laugh at Rick, you laugh at Sinead O'Connor, you laugh at Gary Busey, but like, they have a mental illness. Why are we laughing? Yet we're all over like, oh, mental illness. Take it very seriously. Like if it's proven, he actually. I mean, I don't know. How do you test the guy?
Exactly. That's the sad part is, and I'm one of them people. You walk the walk. You talk the talk. You walk the walk. If you're gonna care about mental illness, you have to care about everybody. Like I said, at this point in my life, I don't have that much. I don't have any hate in my heart. I wish the guy the best.
Yeah.
Do I trust him? Of course not.
No.
Because you never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Now, and then you could also say when you say that there's no hate in your life, like, yeah, you were always a good-hearted guy. You went through your wild stages in the 90s for all those fights and stuff, and so did I a little bit. Like, especially when I got to Philly, I got right into that. But like, you can't let hate. If you don't have control your hate as you get older, you're not going to make it.
It'll consume you.
It'll consume you. It's going to put you under.
And I think jealousy and hate. I want my friends to succeed in every stage of life.
Yep.
If I have a friend's band, I want them to be bigger than we ever were. You know what I mean? I'm not a jealous kind of guy when it comes to that stuff. And I know a lot of people will say that, but for me, if my friends are doing well, that means I'm doing well. If we're really friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I think. I think some people say it, but I don't think they follow through with it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of like one of those things when I did the PA Hardcore documentary, which is weird, dude. It was 2014. It's getting that old. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's still fat. Like, so it's like a long time ago now, right? But like,
it's funny because we found 2 of them in my basement and we sold them at the last show we had.
Awesome. Good for you.
And the kids are like, "Oh man, I remember hearing about this," and we sold both of them. I'm like, "See that?"
Yeah, I gave you guys a box for a benefit, I believe.
Yeah, that's where we had them left from. You know what I mean? I think we went to Europe and then we had suitcases stocked away with how much stuff, and let's put these couple here and leave these for when we. And then next thing you know, you open up, you're like, wow, there's still 2. I think there was about 30 CDs in there too of different sorts.
But the reason I brought that up is like you want to talk about like being a little bit on the strong-willed side. Like, I don't know how you ever viewed me being the scene, but I've always viewed me as I'm the guy. I'm cool with everybody, and I march to the beat of my own drum, and I jump group to group. I always know what I never like to shake the waters. But when I started that documentary, like I was having people call me, yo, make sure this band's not in it. Make sure this person's not in it. Make sure this person. I was just like, there were people trying to like, and I'm like, if you're important, I don't care. If I gotta tell you, I didn't freaking love every single person I interviewed, but it's the right thing to do for the movie to tell the story. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So like I held my ground on that, you know. So
I thought you did very well, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
You know, I mean there's only so much you could fit in it without making it, 48-hour long paper.
Oh, yeah, I could have honestly made that like a chronicle. I could have easily. I mean, you're talking about I just think I hit the bullet points. I mean, you could go on forever. You can't cram 30 years into 90 minutes.
Trying to go like more where you seen it start from your sense. You know what I mean? They grow it up to, as much modern time as you can. But if you try to put every band in it for 10 minutes, there's a lot of bands.
Yeah. It's like taking a book and making it a movie. Like people always get mad. They're like, well, that's not what, like, yeah, they can't put 1,000 pages into 2 hours. Like, yeah, things have to get consolidated. Yeah. But, like, what was the actual year in like your actual first show? Where was it?
Well, Chris Nace, of course. I think the first time that we went to see a band that was like, I think it was the LS Skaterama, Bolorama, and I think it was 1991.
Yeah, you got a couple years on me there.
Yeah, and it was like I said, I didn't know what it was. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Some of the older guys were into Slayer and this, and it was just I went there and I actually, like I said, I actually had a bad experience my first show. You know what I mean? I didn't have the right clothes on. You know what I mean? And that was the sense of skinheads there. You know what I mean? And there was some white power guys there, and I came in with as you see, I'm still a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I came in with a black guys on my shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Shirt, and some of the guys weren't having it. So my first true experience wasn't what I wanted it to be. That's for sure.
It's crazy. Like I didn't even know what a skinhead. I was so shocked. I just thought when you said racist, I thought KKK. I didn't understand what a people would be like, yo, the skinheads, and I'd be like, oh, and I'd be nodding, but like I don't know what am I nodding. I didn't understand. Like what that meant. Like I was that. So.
And I was so glad that I went back because, like I said, then my next experience were amazing. And I went with my friend Chris, and we went, and like I said, then we just started. I can remember we having each other's parents drop us off at like the hose house. Like they had no idea what we were going to see, and like I said, sometimes I don't think we did either. But it was exciting. You know what I mean? It was just, and it was different. It was something different. Like I don't know where my life. It definitely wouldn't. My life would not have came out as good as if I didn't have it. That's for sure.
I said that the 90s, like my three axes, if you could, like importance. It's funny because I discovered hardcore, then the tattooed on my arm, my martial art logo. I discovered Wing Chun Kung Fu through Grandmaster Randy Williams, and I have ECW wrestling going on all at once. Like, dude, I was in heaven. I mean, it was like the best thing in the world going on. Like when I broke out of my shell, like you ain't getting me in. I was like a dog that escaped from your backyard. Like the dog's gone.
You got the smell and taste of freedom. That was it.
I'm done. I'm never coming back here. Like I remember, like the TV in my bedroom didn't even get turned on for like 6 months. I was like, no, like I'm going. And it was crazy because I had a big thing about, other than Carbondale, I was like, oh, it's a big deal to go to Scranton. It's a pain in the ass. And then like you're meeting all these people in hardcore, and like particularly like Matt Gray lives up in Hawley, so he was about 50 minutes away.
Yeah,
and I would call Matt and I'd be like, yo, what's going on this week? I'd be like, there's a party, but it's like an hour from my house. And I'm like, can I drive to your house and hop in with you? Like, and you're just going out and you don't know where you're going. You hardly know these people. And it was like, it was amazing. Like it just chain react. Like it was just crazy,
I had the most fun. Like I said, everybody asked me what the craziest was, just getting in when we first started the band, just getting in the van with a atlas. You know what I mean? We'd go get MapQuest, print it out, whatever,
Yep.
and just went in there. And I remember Chris had a pager, and we just drive 2-3 hours to a show and just pray that people were going to be there, or the person booking the show, and we'd go to a payphone and say, "Well, hit us back on the pager. I think we're close."
Yeah.
You just literally winged it. You know what I mean? But it was
and especially you did that everywhere, but especially by us, like you'd be going to a one-off show. This is never going to happen again, to an area you'd never been to. And you're just going into a convenience store and be like, do you know where this fire hall or this guy named Jake's house is? And they either were like, yeah, perfect. Yeah, right there. Or they were like, huh? And you're just like, damn it, I got a lot of circling. You might make the last band because you didn't want to give up. But finally, you saw kids outside. You're like, I finally found it.
When you pulled up and seen people outside, and you seen a hardcore shirt or something, and you knew you made it. That was like, or like even being in a band, and you would pull up, and they'd be so happy. I remember playing the Holly Fire Hall.
Yes,
and we would get there, and the first time the show was like, and then we came back the second time, and there was so many kids. I swear to God, it was like 4 high schools all put together, and it was just like. It was the same way. We handed out our demo for free at the time. And I just remember all these kids singing along and stuff. I'm like, man, this is amazing. Like, these kids are just like us. They love it, It's like, it was like, hopefully they changed you like I got changed from it.
By far.
That's all you can hope.
I always said, like, that's still always be my favorite era of hardcore. And then, like, when I got down here in the early 2000s to Philly, where I'm at still, but, like, those few years, it was just different because I moved up to a bigger city. And, like, I don't have to drive as far. I can just drive, like I remember my first show was 2 blocks from my house. When I moved to Philly, I was like, oh, I don't got to drive minimum 25 miles. Like, this is beautiful,
And I mean, the Philly hardcore scene's like, for us, that was a big deal. I remember it was a big deal even to play Philly.
Yeah.
We're playing Philly, man. Like that, that hardcore scene, that was like playing New York City. Like, I remember the first time we played CBGBs, and we're just like, and we had the little mini school bus at the time.
Yeah, I remember that. I was in that thing, showing what you guys found out. Yeah.
And I remember it was just like, we're bringing our own show because we're going to make sure that this experience is good from the start. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna take a wild guess here, but I think I know exactly. Did you buy that for like $300?
Yeah, it wasn't much. I think it might have been $400 or $500.
I remember when you told me. I was like, man, they got that. I was like, for that price. I was like, you had to paint it black because you can't have a yellow school bus. And
because I work for the school district now, and the guy that sold me the bus one day, the owner of the school bus company, he came to the school. I was outside like fixing something. I think it might have been a lawnmower or something. And he's like, "Oh, Carl, how are you?" And he's like, "I remember when I sold you guys that school bus, and we painted it black.
Uh-huh.
I remember you guys had that thing forever." And I'm like, "I wish we still had it. That was one of the most reliable things, Now I know why they drive them school buses. That thing ran. If it wasn't a diesel and we didn't live where 10 degrees below zero, it'd have been perfect."
So as far as the Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Nanticoke area, like what's going on up there right now? Like, where's do you have actually an actual spot, or is it just wherever you get set up?
Well, they've been doing a lot of VFWs. Like, we just played a place in Glen Lyon. Actually, our newest guitar player, Nate, the young buck, I call him. He has a new band called Choice to Make, and I mean, they're killing it now too. And they have nice young following too.
Good.
And he's been doing a lot of shows, you know what I mean, with a lot of the Wilkes-Barre kids. Because Wilkes-Barre's popping again. Like,
good.
A lot of bands that are, you know what I mean, they're doing well. A lot of traveling, and for us, we're happy to play with the younger guys too. You get that younger crowd. Like, he threw that Scranton Wilkes-Barre Fest in Glen Lyon, and there's 400 or 500 people there, and I mean, a lot of the kids were 25 years old. You know what I mean? Like, for us, that's great. You know what I'm saying? It's a new generation. And they're dancing and singing along for your band and saying how much they love you. And it's like, wow, this is cool that the next generation, 2 generations, sometimes you could call it, are still rocking it. You know what I mean? And I said their bands are killing it. You know what I mean? It's still good, man. Wilkes-Barre, Scranton always have a good scene, I think.
Good. How do you feel about Here's a good one. We're in a world of streaming music, and you and I grew up on buying tapes and CDs. Like, What are your thoughts on that? Because like it was one of those things. Even in the '90s, like whenever it was crazy when like we went from cassette tapes to CDs. I remember Furia 5 had their first album and it was that green cover, and we're like, it's a hardcore band on a CD. Like holy crap. And then VOD, you know, is on a
when the VOD came with the gas mask, you know.
Yeah, and you're like, wow. And like it's one of those things like at least in the 90s going forward, man, like even now, like I looked at like the bands on the road, man, like they need this CD money. They need this t-shirt money. And when I would hear someone like, oh, I'm just downloading the album for free off of this, I'm like, you understand you're not really supporting the band then? Like that you're literally giving them no money, and then you're going to complain when they break up, you know, because you didn't do the merch is really important. It is. It's
I know it now, even at this time, like we sell tons of t-shirts still to this day. You know what I mean? Like you sell tons of t-shirts because that's the way they're supporting your band in a sense. We'll still have some CDs on the table because, like I said, we're from the old school. Yeah. I don't care if they get it by streaming it, but like you said, if you're going to go to a show, I like owning a physical copy of it. I just always feel like that.
You feel you've done your part because, like I said, you know, when I would open up those cassette tapes, same thing. Like, you know, next room over is mine, and that's got like 1,000 CDs in it. Like, I just remember countless wonder of like, yo, who engineered this? You know, where was it? Yeah, who do they know? Like, I just felt like I did my part as a supporter, like a fan.
Support the music, support the craft, exactly. And it's funny because I know I'm bringing up Nate again. Like his band released a couple things on cassette tape. As a physic, because he didn't want to go. You know what I mean? And I mean, of course, everybody's making. I think that's why a lot of people are making records now.
Yeah,
like 7 inches because they're collectible. So people will still buy them. You know what I mean? And you'll. Some people still like to listen to a record. And like I said, it's the collector side of it. And I said I think hardcore was helped a lot. I mean, to get the names out by the internet. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But for me, there was always something special about, like you said, buying a CD, support, and half the time the band's selling you a CD, so you're talking to them, you're kind of making a relationship, you know.
And you know the band's actually getting that money direct because like if you ever buy it at a store, who knows? It's going back to the record label, and you know,
exactly. You know, and that's what it always was. We always said. We always supported the underground. We always wanted it to do DIY. It was always, I mean, we live that way to this day. Of course, we're on labels because you need a little bit of help just in modern times, just the more or less for shows it was. You know what I mean? Like, you want to get on a label just to give you a little bit of push. But it was always better with DIY.
Yeah.
And the one thing I always say about CDs, though, that I love is you would put a CD in your car. Remember you buy a CD when they first came out? You'd put a CD or a tape in your car, that thing would play. Sometimes it would be in your car for 3 weeks before you even realize you were listening to it.
Before you're going to bomb it and say, get that thing out of there.
But you would know every song from the first song till the last song.
Yeah.
By heart.
Yeah.
I said, now I think when kids stream, I notice it when we're playing even. They'll pick the 2 or 3 songs that are popular.
Yeah.
They'll know them songs and they'll go crazy for them. And then the other songs they won't know because they really never listened to the whole record or album. They just listened to what everybody else liked. My favorite thing that I would find on a CD or a tape might not be the most popular song by the band, but you would listen to it and then you would love that song, or sometimes you would miss. I would go back and listen to Show 'Em Prove like now, and I'd be like, why don't we ever play this song? It's like truly our best song. You know, lyrically, musically, not, you know what I mean? Like the band wrote like an awesome song. I was lucky enough to sing on it. You know what I mean? Like,
how many albums does Strength have at this point? Start counting.
5, I believe.
Okay.
You know?
Yes, you started in 96, I think, right?
Well, we actually started with Mushmouth at the time. We just had a couple songs. That was 96. We always said we started in 97 because that's when I actually put the band together with me and Jack, and we actually started playing as a band.
I was at that show.
Huh?
I was at that show. I was at your first show. Yeah.
It was Earth Crisis. I couldn't. I was so nervous to get on stage. I remember
you had Mad Joe in the band. I think you had Chris.
Oh yeah, that was a little after. I was talking about the one without the wind, but yeah, well, Mushmouth. But yeah, the Mad Joe was on the drums. Believe it or not, that was awesome.
Yeah, you went through a member change. Like I think quickly, like at the beginning. And then,
yeah. Before when we were getting established, we didn't know what was actually going to come out of it.
Yeah,
when we started really getting going, it was when Eddie Bonja, he was playing in chamber and stuff. When he started playing drums, because Jotham was a good musician, but he wasn't a drummer at the time. You know what I mean? Like Eddie was already jamming on the drums. Jotham was just like, Jotham's a singer, player. He could do it all. You know what I mean? It was
He's a utility player. He's like
at first we were holding him back. You know what I mean? Like we were like new to the game. We're like, you know what I mean? And then, like I said, once we got Eddie, the band really started rolling. Because at first it was Chris's brother Dom was on bass. Then we moved to Keith James, and then the bass players at first, like Tom right now, our bass player has been in the band.
Keith Toby Hanna was in that, right? Wasn't Keith Toby Hanna? Wasn't Keith Toby Hanna in the band for a little bit?
Toby Hanna, yep. Yeah. He was in the band for, like I said, for not too long. But like I said, our bass players at first were funny because we'd always have the guitar players and me, Eddie, and Jack, and the bass players were interchangeable at first.
Yeah.
So until we found Tom, and then Tom was like I said, Tom's one of the longest members now. But at first we'd have a new bass player
Yeah, I remember all that stuff like it was yesterday, man. I mean, it was from the volleyball and the volleyball games up there, the Spankies, like it was all,
Oh yeah, it was all so many friends. You know what I mean? Like you said, the guys in Crutch and now Wisdom, and we're friends to this day. Like it's crazy to me, like how much we all grew, but we all stayed the same. You know what I'm saying?
You have to evolve, but it's one of those things too. Like I don't want to sound like I was the wiser Yoda of everyone up there, but like I didn't think we were making like history in the hardcore scene, but I definitely knew we had something really special going on up there at that. I always felt that, and I used to always hear like when kids are like, "This place is disgusting. The bathrooms are disgusting," and I'm like, "Where else are we gonna play? Like on a consistent base. Like what do you want? Top it all off. Like these are the same people throwing shit all over the parking lot and littering." And I'm like, "Well, you're calling it a dump. You're contributing to it. Like pick this shit up."
We would play there like once a month to pay for our band room. Like that was his deal. Like with Vince, like we'd play once a month and that would pay because at the time we had a pretty good following.
Yeah.
And then but he would let us bring whatever bands in we wanted.
Uh-huh.
Like the guy was legit. Like we're like, "Oh, this band Madball or this band, whoever it was, he didn't care. He would just be like, "Oh, are they gonna bring people?" I mean, for him it was a business. And
he was
mad, but for him that's what it was. But to us, he was letting us do exactly what we wanted, and there was no pressure because the venue was there.
Yeah, and he looked out for you, and he was kind of in a small way like a form of a dad that you could kind of manipulate. It could be like, "Yeah, bring Marauder down." Like, "Yeah, bring Machine Head down for us." Like, he'd be like, "Are they gonna draw?" I'd be like, "Yeah." I'd be like, "Okay," like
that was the thing. Like I said, as much as like some people say, "Oh, he didn't care, he just cared about." I'm like, it wasn't, but he actually did care because he'd let you do it, and he was happy when the show did well. Not only for the club, he was happy for the people. Like, "Oh, that was a fun one. We'll do another one next month." You know what I mean? Or
it was so funny a lot because like me and John Leonore, RSB, like we would always kind of get there on the earlier side, and he'd be like, "Lauren, Johnny, come here," and he'd be like, "I just got this in. This is called the Graphic Killers from England. Do you think they'll draw? They want a lot of money." And be like, "Vince, we never heard of them. I ain't booking them." Like that'd be it. He just asked two of us. Like, "I ain't booking them." He'd rip it up.
He would honestly, and because he knew we were like, Jack was like, we call him MacGyver. He could fix anything. Like to this day, he would go up in the band room and him and his dad would be rewiring the place. And, you know what I mean? We'll paint the walls. Like he seen we took care of it.
Yeah,
he appreciated it. You know what I mean? Like,
oh gosh, yeah.
sure that we took care of it, like, because we appreciated him. Because there was not everybody would do that, man. You know what I mean?
No, and how many places like someone would get access to like a fire hall and they didn't know. And it's like there might not even be a fight, but they're just watching how we dance and they're like, yo, what are you guys doing? Like someone's gonna get hurt. And you're like, you don't understand. We're not hurting each other. Like we're all looking out, but like you're done. That's a one and done. They don't want it.
When we would play our hometown here down in West Side, Dan Mills and them started booking West Side. And that was always the thing. I was always nervous that people that knew me would come to the shows, like, because it was sort of like our own thing. And they're like, I'm not going to understand people dancing and jumping on each other. And you don't want to fight because you don't mind these people, but you don't want them to fight with people that they don't realize are your friends because you see them every weekend at shows.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, and it always went off without a hitch. And then a lot of the people that would come from our hometown couldn't believe how cool it was to see the bands play. Like, oh, them people jumped around and they knew all the words. It's like, it's a different time, a different, different lifestyle. That's what it is.
Between like the zoo and home base and all that, was there really been a long staple since CC's really fell? Has there really been like something with longevity?
Sadly, like home base, and when it was home base in Cafe Metropolis, I mean, and the zoo was like, I'll talk positively about the zoo because I mean that place to me kind of helped save hardcore. They were a bunch of wrestling kids that let us start having shows, and a lot of them became hardcore kids. Or I always say kids, men at the time.
Yeah.
And I said it became hardcore, and like I said, they helped the scene grow again, and they started really booking hard, because home base was killer at first, man.
Yeah.
I said then after that, like I said, there was that club in Kingston that they did for a little while. Backstage.
Okay.
That was like around for definitely a little longer than usual.
Then you had Redwood for a little while, right?
Yeah, Redwood. That was more like Pittston area. That was cool for a while.
Yeah.
They put a lot of work in there. That was like Matt Wren and them. They started doing stuff, and they have a place in that a lot of the bands practice now, like that One Step Closer and Nate's band, The Hive. They were doing some, they couldn't really advertise too much, but they were doing a lot of shows there. But it was more like a practice spot, but it was really cool.
So, I mean? This is a good topic to bring up right here, this particular. But like, I have a big glitch with this in hardcore. But like, I think other than like the crusty punk rock people, like I think this is a lost art. But like, does anyone ever play anyone's garage, their basement, like private party, or is everyone really married to like you got to have a sound guy, we got to get this much money? Like, did we lose that?
I mean, I remember seeing some big bands play garages. You know what I mean? Especially like around here.
But I'm talking about in recent years. Is that door shut?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Just because noise ordinances and everything, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, I mean, and it probably is happening, Lauren, but I think that we're kind of grown from it. We're in our 40s now, and I mean, these are younger kids doing it, Like, yeah. I feel strange sometimes because I'll go to a show and I'll walk in there and there'll be a bunch of 16, 17, maybe an 18-year-old kid. And then, like, look at these 3 40-year-old dudes walk in. You know what I mean? And you're standing there, and you know that you're old enough to be their parents.
It's one of those things too. It's like you're at a show, and when you walk in, you're sitting there, and you're like, it's Madball. I don't have to worry about this. Like, the chances are there's gonna be people older than me. But when you see like young bands, you're like, am I gonna be way older than everybody?
And I'm not jaded. Like, I think it's so cool when I go and see a bunch of younger bands. And you see they're killing it, man. I mean, they're, just because you're a little disconnected from them because you're that much older, like, they're killing it. They have 80 of their friends. They're going crazy. Besides, they brought 100 people from out of town. I mean, they got it going on. It's just, you don't understand I shouldn't say understand. You don't know the band as well, or you don't know because they're younger. You know what I mean? Like, you do get disconnected no matter if you want to admit it or not. You know what I mean?
Without a doubt. Like I said, still in martial arts. I do my yoga. Like, I know I'm aging well and everything, but like, when a new band comes out and they're just like upset government, blah, 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 that's great. It really is. But, you know, you and I live in the real world. Like, you know, I'm more like Leonard Cohen, Nick Cave, Lou Reed, like Joni Mitchell. And I'm one of them, like, where am I going to eventually move? You know, where's the property taxes going to be like? How the hospital is going to be? Are we going to have some culture? So, like, the 25-year-olds up there going crazy and shit, that's awesome. But it's like, this isn't talking to me the way it used to. But the brother sisterhood thing is so important. It is.
Exactly. And that's the most important part. Like, we just played a new club down in Mechanicsburg called Love Draft. And we pulled up to the place, and it was an old it looked like a TGI Fridays, but it was an old Quaker Steak and Lube. So we pull up, and there's like older people eating in the front, like, you know, like they do like craft beer and stuff. And we're like, oh, this is going to be strange. Like, there's the, you know what I mean? When we walked in there, it was just a bunch of younger guys that chipped in and bought like this club.
So cool.
And turned it into like a club and have it as a restaurant in the front.
That's so smart.
It was like, so like, because they have something on the side, and they were cool as heck. I mean, you know, you could tell they were like little, you know, middle-aged metalheads, I call them. But they were the nicest guys. They loved the hardcore thing, you know, us Steel Nation, and you know, it was really cool. You know what I mean?
And it's like, it's different in our case now, because like when we were in the 90s and doing some shady shit at clubs and all that, like, we didn't care. We didn't know what insurance was and liability and all that. Like,
exactly.
now you look back and you're like, oh shit, that was that was bad.
I remember people getting hurt at a show, and I didn't care. And that's how I know I grew up a little bit. Now I see somebody get hurt, I'm like, oh man, like, you know, make sure everybody's okay. And you know, it's just like it.
Yeah, you flipped once you said, like,
you realize that poor guy has to go to work tomorrow. Now he has a broken leg. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, or you know, we're gonna lose this venue. You know, especially like where you and I were from, like the bigger cities, like they didn't care because like there's a million spots. We'll find something. But like for us, you know, you didn't want to lose that. That was like a big thing. You know. I think that's another reason we acted up at CC so much, because we knew Vince. Vince was so laid back. Like, I remember, like, I don't know what fight broke out, but there's like 20 on 20 on the floor, and Vince walked in, and he looks at me, and he's like, "What's going on?" Like, I don't know. He's just like, "Hey guys, you guys gonna fight? You gonna play or what? Huh?" Like, he gives you an option. He doesn't say stop. It was like,
because he actually cared. He knew that you weren't the one that was starting to fight. Because he would have, and I always said when there was a fight there, he knew the 50 shows. That's what I always liked about Vince. He knew the 50 shows that there wasn't any fight.
Yeah.
And most of the time, these people weren't people that went to that. But we always forgot when there was a fight there that, you know, how many bar bands have fights all the time. You know, the Cure at these shows. I'm saying with a bar band or a cover band. Everybody's drunk. Like at hardcore, you kind of policed yourself. Like if there was a fight, you kind of squash it and, you know, move to the side. Or
we were also like unless you were just a straggler, like you knew somebody, and you're policing it. Like, yeah, it's always weird how time goes. Like when like Ozzy and Alice Cooper and like David Bowie came out, it's like, look what they're doing, look what they're saying, look how they're dressed. And then like if you see anyone mimicking that now, you don't even do a second take. But I remember like in the paper for CC's in the 90s, they were like, they actually had like a town meeting saying there's people coming in from New York and causing trouble in our town and saying like, you know, look how they dress. Like they were coming after us. It's like, you know, by the 2000, everyone was dressing and acting just like us. So it's just, you guys didn't know how to take it. You know what I mean? We were the David Bowie, Alice Cooper, Ozzy people.
Yeah.
But like, how bad were all the jocks killing each other at CC's at like Tinks or the Woodlands?
Oh my God, yeah.
Terrible. I mean, those fights were disgusting and stuff. So like, it's just because we look different and we had tattoos.
That's what I'm saying. Like we look back about it with the violence and stuff, but at the same time, we kind of protected it from not having the violence because we never wanted to lose it.
Yeah.
And even the people that would come from out of town, they said, wow, this is a really cool spot. I don't want these guys to lose this spot. Like, let's not cause any trouble here, you know. Of
Yeah.
course, there are people that don't care. There's always them people in all walks of life, you know.
Yeah, you know, it goes on and on. What happened to Chris? What, you know, Fast Break Records? What you did? Like Matt Gray played like what drums and like for every band in the world, and it was like the drum tech for like Less Than Jake and this one and that one. I mean, it's amazing how that blow. Like, you know, like I didn't know I was gonna be an actor. I didn't know. I had no idea. You were to tell me in the '90s, Lord, you're the guy that's gonna make the movie. I said, "But like, what? No, I ain't doing that."
That's why we're proud of you. That's what I always say. That's what, if you would have told me as a kid, I'm going to go to Europe and play in a band.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was starting a band, and my wife, I met her at a hardcore show and stuff, and it was comical because she's like, I'm like, yo, I'm going to start the band with these guys. And she's like, really? You know what I'm saying? Like, really? You know, I mean, you know, but, you know, like I said, and then, you know, as it started going, she's like, wow, you really have a lot to sing about. You have, you know, a great message and stuff. But at first it's like, because she knew me as me, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
really, you know, like we go to shows, you're not going to be in a band, you know what I mean? Like, she went to as many hardcore shows as me. I met her at a hardcore show. We've been together 25 years, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, but like I said, because you don't, when you look at your friend, you don't think, oh, this guy's the next, you know, but they are.
Yeah. You know, I didn't see like I didn't see like Cold World coming or any of that stuff. Like you're just like, wow, look at this. Like, and yeah, I love it. I'm just like, I love when I hear.
I mean, you have Cold World. I mean, look how big they got. But then you have his little brothers. I remember his little, like Title Fight. When you say about playing a garage, we played a garage with Title Fight. They were little kids. They had friends from their school in this little garage, and they were singing all along. Next thing I know, they're headlining This Is Hardcore, and there's 3,000 people singing every word. And then next thing you know, they're on tour with I can't think of the band. But I mean, I'm like, this is Alex's little brothers are killing it. Like, you know, you're so proud. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, they're touring the world with, you know what I mean? And they got 2,000 people at all their shows, you know? It's like you never know, because you look at them like, well, these are Alex's little brothers. Next thing you know, they're headlining, you know, playing all over the world. You're like, wow, it's just so cool. Like,
did you have a particular moment around that time? Like mine was 95, where you kind of felt like I made it here. I don't mean like I made it here. I'm down. I just mean like I'm accepted here. I got this down. What an amazing life I'm going to have here with this. Do you have a particular moment with that?
I remember like when we first started the band, and I remember all I wanted was a couple of my friends to sing along. I remember writing the lyrics and like, man, if a couple of my friends sing along to the band, this is going to be awesome. You know what I mean? And when I started realizing is when people I didn't know started singing too. You're like, really? Like they know how do they know the word? You know, not realizing them demos were actually going around. You know what I mean? And that's when you were just like, and it's not just because I was in a band. It was like you're like, wow, these people actually like the music, but they like us. You know what I mean? They didn't support it. We weren't very good at first. Anybody who says, oh yeah, we were killing it at first, you know what I mean?
What band though really comes out, like, unless you're a seasoned band, you know, and all 5 members are like that good? It's like anything, it needs work.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, but then you've got your friends, and then your friends of friends, and then next thing you know, you're playing a show, and everybody is into it. You're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I never thought that we would go to this level. You know what I mean? And then you have friends from Baltimore and, like you said, Philly and New York, and you're like, oh my God. I remember first time we went to Europe, and they told us we're headlining Ninja Fest. I'm like, us? 100 Demons is playing, and you know, everybody gets hurt, and like all these, you know, bands that you're like, you know, like there's no, and then we played, and we played last, and it was just as good for us. For like, you never feel like you deserve to play last. You know what I mean? Like the headline. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a headliner. Like, you know what I mean? When you do it, and then it's just like, wow, these people actually like us.
Yeah. And I'd say at like the other end for me, it was you probably were there. You were that because there was like 3 or 4 of these right in a row. But I would say it was the All Day Fest Johnny RSB through
God,
Memorial Day shows.
One of the best shows I've ever been to this day.
And if you look at those lineups, those are festivals today.
Oh my God, yeah.
And yeah, and I remember it was like $5 too. It was like a Saturday or Sunday, but I just remember
TC's wall forever, like the graffiti in the back.
Yeah,
that lineup. Somebody had a picture of it, dude. I wish I could find it. It was amazing.
I think I might have that in the doc. I think that's actually in the NEPA group on the wall. Yeah. I think if you look at the timelines, but I just remember that show was the one that mattered to me huge because I felt like when I looked around, I've been coming to shows for a while and I've been talking and I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. But like, I know half the people here.
Yeah.
Like, I just felt like I kind of came into my own. I'm like, I'm not the new guy. Like, you know, there's like I'm looking in the back. There's all these other groups of people. I'm like,
I remember when you had Final Stand though, like you said, with you and John RSB and like the guy, like you went to CC's and it was truly like people say brotherhood, sisterhood. That's why people always say, "Oh, you sing about that to this day." I'm like, because that's the reason I was in the band. I said at this point of my life, the reason I still play shows, and I know I said it earlier, is to see my friends.
Yeah.
I enjoy playing. I enjoy getting in the band with my friends because they all have wives and kids, and I have a wife. We all have jobs, and the time that we get that to feel like kids again is to getting in the band, and we're gonna go play a show, and we're gonna go down there, and we're gonna know our friends are gonna be there, and we're gonna, when you see another 40-year-old some man or another 50-year-old man jumping around singing along, that he was in a suit and tie earlier. You know what I mean? Like it brings out something that some people. I wish everybody could experience that because it's like nothing. You know what I mean? During the day you're all proper, and then you get there and you go wild for you feel like you're a 20-year-old kid again for 20 minutes of your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like it's funny. I was saying earlier, but like my favorite part of the show is like arriving and in between because I get to talk to everybody.
Yeah,
you know, it's weird. It's like the bands are like second because like I said, I've been around it so long and all, but like I need that. I need that the brother. It's so important, especially like like everyone's got their whatever's bothering them, but like I have the film. I'm doing this podcast now and all that. Like I got so much on my plate that like that centers me.
Yeah.
And like when I did the Dark Military movie, when I ran my film festivals in Philadelphia, like the hardcore roots of DIY is how I got things done. And people didn't understand when I'm like laying the team out, like, here's how we're going to do this. Like, why would you do it that way? I'd be like, because we're going to save a lot of money. We're going to cut some corners here. And this is going to work. Trust me. And somebody were like, where did you learn this shit? I'm like, here.
Real experience.
You book the venue, you book the bands, you bring the PA. Like, it was the same thing. I'm like, you're gonna build this. That's how like movie producing came in my life too. Brother, this has been one awesome interview. I think we're kind of good here. Is there anything else you would like to bring up? Otherwise, I would tell you plug the band.
Hey, keep supporting music, keep having fun, and keep your friends close, and enjoy life, man. It's short. Enjoy the ride while we're here. Like I said, it was great catching up with you. I mean, I hope I didn't go too off topic because I'm good at that.
No, it was great. But I thank Karl from Strength for a Reason being a guest of Average Superstar TV. You could check all this all out at YouTube and all the podcasts. I'll have a list for them starting next show, but I'm going to be on all of them. So, and you can add me on Instagram and Facebook under Lauren Lepre.
Yeah.
And
so always support music, man. Listen to new bands.
And always be open. Remember, I always tell people this one thing. This is a good thing too. Like, no matter how you are feeling in life, music is always your best friend. There's some band out there that knows what you need to listen to. You just got to find that. Whatever situation is, someone has an answer and someone's been there. You're not the only one that's in this situation.
Exactly. But thanks for the interview, man. Thanks for everything. Thanks for what you do, bro. And hopefully life's good to you and we talk soon.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, bro. Thank you.
Later.
Take care.